Hey, everybody, this is Harriet Cammock. I am the host of the Faith Hour, in addition to which I'm an author and speaker. And so today I want to talk with you about having watched the No Kings uh, demonstrations over the weekend and so on, and seeing that 7 million people took to the streets to express their dissatisfaction with the current administration and the current president. And we're all fired up. We're all angry. We get that. We all are. None of us want to sit here and pretend that we like what's going on. Okay. So now that we have done the No Kings demonstrations all over the country, now that we have uh, demonstrated, what's next? That's a question I want to ask. Is a general strike the next thing to do? And I'm not trying to expose any kind of I'm not intimate with anybody who organizes these events, or neither am I an organizer or anything like that, or neither am I expounding on anybody's idea. What I am interested in are solutions. We clearly have a president who is out of control. We clearly have a president who thinks he's a king. And the last I checked, we threw out kings 250 years ago. So, pardon me and the rest of us from thinking that nobody who has been elected can ever be a king, no matter how delusional their thinking is. But what is next after the no kings? Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am in any way a supporter of this administration, not by a long shot. I'm known to be vocal about my dissatisfaction with how things are going in the country. Today is, if I'm correct, let's just make sure. Today is October 21st. The government has been shut down since October 1st. The president is not paying any attention to the needs of Americans. So why should he be interested in me? He's not paying any attention to the fact that troops ought to be paid. I think they were finally paid out of some other fund, right? The government has been shut down, so women and children who are dependent upon SNAP benefits and WIC benefits will not be getting them in the month of Thanksgiving. And you know what the president is worried about? He's worried about sending out AI images on his social media platform that indicates that he wants to shit on us. He literally wants to shit on the American people. So I want to ask you, MAGA people who voted for him, do you really sit there with your crusty, dusty lips and want to say that this is a good move by the administration? Are you really going to sit there and look in our faces and tell us that it is okay for a president to say he wants to shit on us? Are you seriously believing that? He has demolished part of the White House because he wants to build a ballroom. This man knows that come 2028, he'll be voted out of office. So he's tearing down everything on his way out, including demolishing a part of the White House, the East Wing of the White House. The East Wing of the White House is usually where the First Lady sits. So he's telling all the previous First Ladies that they don't matter, and including the one he's married to. I don't know if you can call her a lady or not. Including the one he's married to, he's telling her, you don't need an office. This has been tradition, and he has destroyed all of them. So my question is for all you MAGA folks, you really like what's going on? The man did an AI image in which he pooped on us. That means that's exactly what he thinks of us. That's why he's allowed the government to continue shutting down, because he's preserving his own self-interest. At this point, I just want to think that whatever is in the Epstein files is probably worse than we thought. We thought the worst that could happen was he was with some some teenage girls. Not that that isn't bad, that is horrible. But it's got to be worse why he does not want the Epstein files to be released. It's not like his family doesn't already know what's in it. They know exactly who he is and what type of person he is. So what is he hiding so dangerously that he won't allow the government to reopen? Because in reopening the government, the Speaker of the House will have to seat the representative from Texas who won by a special election. He would have to seat her. And guess what she promised to do? She's going to subpoena the files, and she's going to open the files and present them to the public. So for his grandstanding ego, he won't reopen the government. So I'm under no pretense at this point that this man likes anybody who is American or who lives here. This man intends to destroy us, and he's doing a darned good job of it, aided and abetted by you folks who say you are more patriotic and you are more loyal to America than we are. No, you're not. No, you're not. You are just as in it for self interest as he is. You're just as racist as he is. You're not classist because you don't belong in his class. He's a billionaire and you are not a billionaire. So you don't belong in his class. So this is not about classism. This is about racism. That you thought that you could utilize his racism to get back the America that existed in the 1950s where you were on top, not because you were qualified. So you weren't on top because of merit. You were not on top because you were actually qualified. You were on top simply because you were white. And that's what you want to happen again. And that's what's not going to happen because times have changed. I told you last week that the tide has turned. The tide has turned. And how the tide has turned is that the America that existed then no longer exists. So you cannot afford, you cannot pretend that you're in a different movie, you're in a different strain, and so on. That's not what's going on here at all. None of that is what is going on here. What is really happening here is that the tide has changed and the age of just being getting ahead because you were white and born white, that's gone. That's done. Let's face it. So now what's next after No King? 7 million people took to the streets, demonstrated, 7 million people. But here's the thing that got to me. Most of you who took to the streets, you have white privilege, right? So after you demonstrated, you went back home to your nice suburban existences. You still have access to health care, right? You still have access to your jobs. So ageism may not apply to you. Ageism applies to people like me. Racism applies to people like me. So none of those factors matter to you. So after you demonstrated, you were sure they were not going to open guns because you're white. So now that that is done, okay, and I know I'm turning you upside down because in order for us to experience the meaningful change that needs to take, we have to tear ourselves apart and we have to examine every part of us, excoriate it or accept it. So we all need to accept that we do have implicit biases. We could comfortably take to the streets that they wouldn't open guns on us because we're white. We should accept that, number one. Number two, after you're done marching, you're going to stop and eat something on the way or get some takeout on your way back home to your comfortable suburban residences. Meanwhile, ICE was still taking people off the streets. The police were still brutalizing even NFL stars, former NFL football players just because of the skin they're in, not taking into consideration that they might be experiencing a medical event and what happens next. So, like the mayor of Chicago said, it's time for a general strike. Would you participate? Would you give up your comfy existence? Would you give up your comfortable job to experience some discomfort for some time while the rest of us have to deal with this for a lifetime? So, what you are currently experiencing now for an hour on Saturday, or an hour or two or three, the rest of us live it. That's our everyday lived experience in the skin we're in. That's a lifetime of it for us. So are you willing to go to the next step? Because here's how I see it. How I see it, this man needs to be removed from office. It's time for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. You know what the 25th Amendment is? Let me remind you what it is. It is the 25th Amendment. Listen to what it says. It says it establishes procedures for presidential succession and disability, including how to fill a vice presidential vacancy and how to transfer presidential power to the vice president if the president is unable to serve. Why are we going to establish that the president is unable to serve? Because he said he's shitting on Americans. He did an AI video AI image in which he's pooping on us. That's what he thinks of us. So I want to ask you something. You know what I've realized? You know the reason why you guys have not removed this man from office? Because he's white. If Barack Obama or Kamala Harris, when she was vice president, had ever done this and sent out an AI image that she is pooping on Americans, you all would have called for her forcible removal from office. You would have found loopholes in the law that would have done that. Why are you not doing that with this man? You're not afraid of him. It's because he's white. He reminds you of that uncle, that grandfather that you had, your great grandfather, your father, some uncle somewhere that you had who we all go to Thanksgiving dinner, and when they start talking crazy and speak out the side of their mouths, you just ignore them. And you said, just ignore him. That's how he is. That's your attitude to this president. You're not really interested in, or should I say, you're not really looking for a, an, a remedy to this issue. The remedy is to have him removed from office. Why? He has broken every law under the book. He's a felon in the first place. How did he get on the ballot? Because other white people like Joe Biden let him get on the ballot. Yes. They didn't do anything to prevent him from getting on the ballot. They just sat there and smiled because he's white. Oh, he's just crazy. Oh, Donald, he's just crazy. He's just like that. No. Let me tell you how crazy this man is. This man is planning to invade Venezuela, not because Venezuela sent terrorists to America, not because Venezuela actually shot down planes out of the sky like they did on 9/11, and then 20 or 30 years later, less than 30 years later, here comes a president accepting a plane from one of the people who took down a plane over American cities. I want you to hear what I'm saying. How much you have let this ridiculousness go on. It's literally like we're washing our dirty laundry in public for all the world to see, for all the public to see how we have allowed arrogance, how we have allowed racism, how we have allowed what we call American exceptionalism, which is really just our bloated arrogance. We have allowed it to be on stage in front of the whole world, and we call it American exceptionalism. It's not. It's not. It's not. There's nothing exceptional about the current occupant of the White House, the president. There's nothing exceptional about it. There's nothing exceptional about the Speaker of the House lying and calling peaceful protesters Hamas terrorists. How much longer are you guys going to sit back and let this happen? You know why we're asking you to take care? We're not asking you to take care of it. You caused it. Let me tell you how you caused it. You caused it by apathy. You caused it when you went to Thanksgiving from 2014, 2015, 2016. None of you told your no good ass family members who were MAGA, none of you told them that this was not a good idea. None of you stood toe to toe and told them they were crazy. The few of you who did ostracized them and left them forever. I can count on one hand how many of you did that. The rest of you did not. You just sat there and said, oh, that's just Uncle Joe. This is how he is. He'll just get over it. And here we are as a nation. This man is running roughshod through. He's invading Venezuela for no reason because Venezuela has oil. Sounds like something he got out of the Bush playbook, right? He's attacking Caribbean neighbors and shooting people who live in the Caribbean in their fishing boats, calling them narco terrorists. These are fishermen who go out to do deep sea fishing, something that maybe if he were not a billionaire, he probably would have done. But maybe he was out on them Epstein yachts fishing for something else. So he would know that people actually do deep sea fishing for a living. He's invading and attacking Caribbean neighbors, right? And he's killing people, innocent civilians who have nothing to do. These people are not terrorists to America. Neither are they enemies of America. You know who is the biggest enemy of the America right now? Mr. President, look in the mirror. That's who is the biggest enemy of America right now. And so here we are post No Kings, wondering what's next. Is a general strike the next consideration? Are we as Americans being very patient, taking it one step at a time and saying, okay, so what did you guys expect out of the No Kings thing and make it a whole lot of hullabaloo and no, everybody took to the streets? What did you think was going to happen? You're not underprivileged. You don't lack privilege in any way. You don't lack anything at all. So, you know how they were probably looking at you like, what's your point? It didn't make a point. We just shrugged it off because that is not the answer. The answer is the 25th Amendment. Did you all march up to DC and demand that the 25th Amendment be invoked? Then I would be shouting right along with y'all. I would be right there with you. That is the time to stand up and have some courage and be bold enough to do it. Because here's the thing, the military is not going to come to our aid because they're just not. They took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States, and they're not going to come. They took an oath to follow the leader, so they're not going to come. They're going to sit back and tell us that we wait for the ballot box. In the meantime, this man plans to disregard parts of the Voting Rights Act. I kid you not. Part of the Voting Rights Act, simply because to redistrict and convert Democratic voting districts into Republican voting districts so he can have a supermajority and the Republicans can get away with it. I am literally telling myself to breathe right now and doing some serious breath work. There we go. Because you people caused it. You caused it by being apathetic. You caused it by sitting back and not standing up to him enough. When the time came, you were on these apps talking, but when the freaking time came to stand toe to toe, where were you all standing behind Kamala Harris when she was calling this stuff out from stadiums? Where were you all? You said, oh, yes, I'm going to vote, but I'm going to go against my husband and vote. No, you didn't, because you live with him and you want the easy life, so you did not vote against what your husband's wishes were, nor what your father's wishes were. You all voted him in. You all voted him in. The time for action was in the voting booth in 2024. That was the action that you were required to do. All you did was talk on social media. And when the time came, none of you all voted. Because if had you voted, Kamala would be president right now. Amen? Amen. When things like this happen, it becomes important for us now to go look for precedent. So if they're calling for a general strike, has there ever been a general strike? Well, let's see what happens. There has never been a nationwide general strike, except there was a Seattle general strike in 1919. There was a great strike wave of 1946. And of course, a lot of people are referencing the Taft-Hartley Act of 1947. You know what that did? It made it illegal for unions to call for a general strike, which has made it nearly impossible to organize one on a national level. That act, the Taft-Hartley Act of 1947, is, guess what? Still on the books. There were general strikes in some parts of the country, the 1999 one, and then there was one in 1877 in St. Louis, but there has never been a nationwide one. There's now a website called generalstrike.com, and it says that a general strike is when people refuse their labor until demands are met. We need 3.5% of the population, or 11 million Americans, to participate. Can I ask you something? Will you be part of that 3.5%? Since you were able to go out and march in the No Kings rallies, can we count on you to be part of 3.5% of the population? Because when I looked at the rallies, there were a lot of senior citizens there. So I'm going to assume that they are not working. So what about the young people? Where are you all hiding? Are you talking to your sons and your daughters, especially your sons who voted, your sons who are under 40, 18 to 40, who voted en masse for this crazy man in the White House? Your sons voted him in. Did you hear me? Young male Americans 18 to 40 voted this craziness in. And now we have a president who is attacking our neighbors. Last week I talked about how American foreign policy that has been lacking in the Caribbean and Central and South America has caused the mass migration problem that we're currently experiencing. Yeah. Only to come to the realization that now the president has suddenly determined that the Caribbean is somewhere he should attack. The last time the America was in the Caribbean was the 1980s. Remember that 1983 when they went into the country in the Eastern Caribbean? I'm trying to remember, was it Antigua? It's one of those countries, yeah? And they had some footprint in the 1980s, significantly, up until the early 1990s. And then America forgot that the Caribbean existed. They went global and they went to China and they start looking overseas because they fetishize Asian people or whatever it was. They thought they could use Asian people to build up their industries. They definitely were not going to the Caribbean and Latin America, and Latin and Central America. Well, Latin America includes Central America. But now we have a president for whom they're football. He's using them as if they're a football and attacking and declare because he wants to declare war. Because if he declares war, he's under the mistaken impression that Congress will give him the power to continue to rule indefinitely. Now, I'm saying this with all the Christianity in me, and I'm saying it with all sincerity. If you're 80 years old, you should be worried about your will, your estates, and the distribution of your assets than you should be about declaring war on people. Because clearly you're not going to live long enough to reap the rewards or the spoils, nor the consequences. I recognize that part of the problem with the world today is that the people who are running the world are 80-year-old men. They're either in their late 70s or they're in their 80s. And they are, excuse me, and they are possibly, it is easy to say, they fear death. They fear a loss of control. And so they're hammering the rest of us, holding us in a grip of war because that's all they can do. They just want war. It must stimulate them somehow. Maybe it stimulates their hearts. Maybe it makes them feel like they're doing great things. I don't know. But we're under this grip of octogenarian men who feel as if they have the world in a power grip. It is time to get rid of all of that. They're driving this planet crazy. They're driving the people of the planet crazy. And we need to be able to do something about it. We're killing innocent people, hauling people off and dismissing it as if it's nothing. There's nothing wrong with it. Like there's no repercussions for it. It is time for us to face the ugliness that we are. We're racist. Face it, live with it, accept it, and now do something about it. Are you going to further allow an 80-year-old man to control the destiny of 300 million people? And I'm especially speaking to the folks who think that, oh, if we all take to the streets, then he's going to see this and he's going to, feel bad about it. We don't want him to feel bad. For those of us who have lived with the specter of racism all our lives, feeling bad is the least of our problems. We are used to feeling bad. We are used to people doing the worst things. And in our experience, they have no remorse. They never feel bad about what they do. So far be it from us to feel like marching is going to stop anything. We know our limitations. Yes, we took to the streets and marched with George Floyd. We had to do that. And we were prepared to do that because that was something that could have been addressed. What you guys need to do is you did this. You caused this to happen with your apathy. You go and talk to your neighbors. You go and talk. And none of you all ended up in the voting booth because no matter what you say, I can't see your vote. The population can't see your vote. But there is no way if you all voted as you say you do, and using your lips to tell us that you voted, there's no way that he would have won. It's not possible. It wasn't that you did not vote or because you did not want to vote for the Black woman. Because the history of racism and your implicit biases dictate that you don't accept it. It is what it is. Now, you are also using that same implicit bias to control what you know is the necessary action to recover us, to bring us recovery, to bring this nation back. You know what that necessary action is? Why weren't you, instead of saying no kings, we should have said the 25th Amendment. But you're not going to do that because you don't want to do that. Because, oh my God, if we do that, that we would take him out. He's an old man. He's like Uncle Josh. He's like Uncle John. He's like my dad. That's how you see him. And guess who knows that? Trump. He knows exactly how far you will go. And he knows that all you're going to do is make noise. As my grandmother would say, empty barrels make the most noise. And you're not going to do anything about it. So we're just going to sit back and say, oh, we will wait to go to the ballot box. He's redistricting and changing how we can vote. He's changing voting laws and what we need to vote. Are we serious? It's just sitting there? Seriously? I am challenging you because it's your country too. My ancestors fought. They went to war. You've heard of the Tuskegee Airmen? Yeah. And when they came back from war, the same country that they fought for overseas, when they came back from war, they couldn't even go into a restaurant to have ice cream because of the color of their skin. But while they were overseas, they were fighting though. They were put on the front lines to fight for a nation that gave them no honor. They were put on the front lines to fight and defend a freedom that they did not experience. Because in their own country, when they returned, servicemen wearing their uniforms, they had no honor. It's your turn, white America, to stand up and fight. It's your turn to stand up and demand accountability. That if you're going to stay in this office, you're going to work for all Americans or you're going to get out. If you're going to stay to become president, you're going to not put out AI images of you shitting on us. You're going to act with some decency and you're going to pretend, at least you're going to pretend that you have some decency so I don't have to explain to my children and grandchildren what that AI image means coming from the presidency. That's what you all should be doing. But you're not doing that. You're not doing that. So, in other words, what I'm saying is, you're going to have to fight yourselves, your brothers, your sisters. Yes, you're going to have to tell them to shut the hell up. You're going to have to say, what are you doing? Stop supporting him. Yes, you're going to have to confront the horrors of the past because essentially, what you're all running from is what? Accountability to the past. None of you want to accept that in the 1950s, your mothers enslaved Black women and had them working as maids to send you all to school. You don't want to accept that. That's why you would not have voted for the Black woman because she's the descendant. She reminds you of the Black woman who was the maid. No way were you going to hand her that power. But look who you chose to hand the power to, a 34 count convicted felon, a man who is accused of raping women and girls. That's who you handed the power to. You would rather give him the power than give it to a decent Black person. You gave the power, you voted for Obama because the economy was so bad that they literally just gave him the keys and said, you fix it. I can't do anything anymore. And when Obama fixed it and turned it around, you all rose up against him. Remember? Remember John Boehner? You remember him, the Speaker of the House? Remember Mitch McConnell? hmm They said they were intended to give Obama such a hard time he could get nothing done. Right. Why? Because you did not want him to be successful. After he was elected, you all turned your eyes away and said, I can't believe I voted for him. So when your cousins and your rural uncles and aunties started talking about it, you didn't say one thing or another. You didn't convince them that, this began a long time ago. And we need to really get centered behind this. Instead, you allowed it to proliferate and it produced the man in the White House right now who is pooping on all of us. That's what you did. These problems that we're talking about right now, they didn't just start today. The problems that rural America is facing, and I hesitate to even say rural America because I think it's so disingenuous. I think people in some of the southern states and so on produce some good things. I believe in America. I don't just believe in the idea of America. I believe in America. I like Americans. They're my countrymen. You are my countrymen and women. And I know that I hurt for you, especially when I think of the greatness that we were, the factories in West Virginia and in Kansas and Missouri, all those places that produce in the heartland, that produced the best of us, that produced products that we were proud of, made in the USA. I feel for you. The problem is not leftists and liberals. You know what the problem is? Politicians. Politicians who refused to do the right thing. Politicians who let groups of business people come to them and say, we have to close a factory because it's cheaper to produce the same thing in China and ship it across the seas to come back to America. So they shut the factories down and carted those jobs overseas. That's what caused the problem in rural America. The problem was not caused by Black people. The problem was not caused by immigrants. The problem was not caused by illegals, as you like to call them. The problem was caused by white-assed politicians over decades who did this thing and allowed America to rot because of money, because they wanted more money. That's the problem. Can you own it? Can you accept it? Just own it. Just say that is the problem and let's find a way out. So now in other words, if you look at it from 40 years ago, we were trending this way. This is not new. This is something that was going to happen as a matter of course. Because we were trending this way because of the policies that happened. There was no way that people were not going to sit back and be completely like unaware or just sit back. Who are you turning the guns on? Turning the guns on one another? Turning the guns on me? Is it I who control the treasury? Is it I who control foreign policy? Is it I who control the military? Is it Black people who do? It's like it's beyond, it's unfathomable. It's beyond your ability to internalize how you allow this rot to continue. So now we have created a generation, a group of people. We send our kids off to college. They're now educated. There are no jobs for them. No jobs anywhere. So what was the freaking point? They can't find jobs because the rich people, the group of 13 families who rule the world, the group of 6 or 10 tech lords, the group of what? 5 families or so who are the richest, who control the industries, they're not giving out jobs because their goal is to control all the money at all times and always be wealthy. That's their goal. Take that as you will. That's the problem. So tonight, when you're sitting down at your kitchen tables, that's what you ought to be focused on. If you're planning another No Kings rally, can I just suggest that instead of rallying this time, everybody stop, don't go to work. Just don't go to work. Get your next paycheck. And after your next paycheck, so let's say this is the 21st, so people got paid on the 15th, so the next paycheck is on the 31st, right? After the 31st of October and the 1st of November, nobody should go to work. Nobody, no matter who you are or what you do, teacher, lawyer, doctor, you work in the feds, you work in the civil service, you work in the private sector, nobody should go to work and stop buying their products. So between now and then, go buy the soap, the stuff, the oil, the food. And then after that, shut this thing down. Bring them to their knees, America. Bring corporate America to their knees. Humble them because they have forgotten who have the power. It's we, the people, who have the power. White, black, red, and yellow, black and whites. All are created in his sight. We are the people. You remember how the Constitution starts? We the people, we the people. In one of the marches down, I think it was in Chicago, I saw something that completely lifted me. And it was an image of people marching and they had like a plaque of the Constitution. Let that forever be riveted in your heads. That is who we are here to defend. We're not here to defend no one person or 13 families or 5 families or a group of 6 or 10 tech lords. Who the hell are you all anyway? You're all some little pieces of shit just running up and down with snot around your faces. A couple years ago, now you're all like, I am this, I am that. Yesterday we had an outage because Amazon Web Services had an outage and banking apps were down. Internet was acting funny. You couldn't, if you were working from home, you couldn't get the right internet connection. Everything was down. Are you all crazy? So just a group of you want to control everything. Look at you. It's such an inflated. This is what I, for the life of me, honestly, God help me. I cannot understand the level of arrogance that these people have that promotes the idea that they're so unique and that they're so necessary to the function of everyday life. I don't know. And frankly, I thought I was a fairly self-actualized person. I am degreed. I am an author. I'm a speaker. I've started a foundation to help women. I have done that. I've won community awards. So I thought I was a fairly self-actualized person. I've lived a little bit. Yeah. I've seen some of the world. So I thought I was fairly self-actualized. I'm not a non-entity. I'm not just some vapor floating on the earth. That's not how I see myself. So I am amazed that there are people who think that they're so crucial and essential to the functioning of the world, not just my family, not just my little community, not just my state or my city. They believe that they're so crucial to the functioning of the world. It never occurred to them that the world existed before they did and that the world will continue after they're gone. They believe in all that foolishness about preserving their bodies like they're going to live forever. Baby, baby, baby. None of us are making it out of here alive. That's not how this ends. Accept your humanity. We've got to bring these people to their feet. We have to humble them and bring them back to where it all begins, that it is we, the people. So if you're going to muster up the power, the people who organize the No Kings event, you've proven your organizational skills. Great, great. Organize a general strike. Organize to have this man removed from the White House. Organize for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. Do it and do it now, expeditiously, because that is what is necessary at this time to do it. That is what we need right now because this is not sustainable. If he's so comfortable attacking Americans and American cities, right? Firing missiles in California into California over California highways, and the military, by the oath of office that they take, have to execute the commands of the commander in chief. Otherwise, we won't have anything. So they're saying they have to uphold, this is part of the Constitution, whether we like it or not. So I have to uphold it or otherwise the whole thing will fall. So the military is doing their part. They say we have to do it because we took an oath. If we don't do it, then there's no Constitution. So they're the last part. They're doing it. This man fired missiles into California. What's next? What is next? So it's not time for you to sit there and, oh, I went to the march. Organize again. General strike. Call for everybody to not do anything. So all the people who work in the utilities just don't show up to work. The people who run the buses, the trains don't do jack. What did I say? Everybody, your next paycheck on the 31st or the 1st, don't go back to work. Don't do jack until they change this. Women and children who are dependent on WIC, the Women's Infants Children's Program that feeds women, infants, and children, will not be funded. People on SNAP benefits will not be funded. And by the way, why are 40 million people on SNAP benefits? If the population is over 300 million, that means 10% of the US, more than 10% of the population is being fed by the government. And those people work. They work for the tech lords. They work for the bamboozling tech departments and the five families who run breweries and run Walmart and run every kind of mart and every kind of thing there is. That's who they work for. 40 million people are on SNAP benefits. The president of the United States is about to starve 40 million Americans. If this does not call for the invocation of the 25th Amendment, I don't know what does. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? So it's time. What's next after No Kings? Got to be a general strike. We got to do something. We got to do that. Because at some point between now and Christmas, if this doesn't turn around, the 25th Amendment has to happen. Because he's crazy, and we can't afford for a crazed maniac to continue to destroy the country and to starve 40 million people. Think about that. This is Harriet Cammock. Be blessed.